So what it is and what it isn't, it's important to know some basic tenets of intelligent design so that you can distinguish it from other forms of anti-evolution. Intelligent design is simply the latest incarnation or descent with modification of the original creationism, which was the creation science was the idea of biblical a Genesis-based creation theory. And because I think it was 1968 in the Epperson case when the Supreme Court declared that Arkansas could no longer require the teaching of creationism because it was inherently religious, the creationists decided to put their thinking caps back on and come up with something that was plausibly sounding a little bit more scientific, hence the name intelligent design.
Yeah.
The problem is that intelligent design presupposes that there are some structures in biology and organisms that are so complex that they couldn't possibly have evolved on their own. And it's not a scientific proposition because it's neither testable nor has it been tested, and it's not falsifiable. Plus, there's always the aspect of, well, who is the intelligent designer? Well, it's nudge, nudge, wink, wink, God.
Yeah, it's always ends up being God or something. Is it's, you know, the person who's creating the life always ends up being the creator of the universe as well. This isn't an argument for panspermia. This is an argument for a created universe.
That's right.
And I think it's worth noting that intelligent design is really what it was called a few years ago. Is that intelligent design is a phrase that people understand now, but intelligent design has kind of fallen out of favor because it's been legally tested, and now they're calling it other things like teach the controversy, which we'll talk about later.
Teach the controversy, that's right.
Yeah, so I mean, this isn't, intelligent design is sort of the watchword we're using for all of this, but don't look for the words intelligent design. This is one of those cases where you really have to listen to the arguments of the people making them. So. Yeah.
Going back to 1925, the Scopes monkey trial, there was John Thomas Scopes was a biology teacher, and he was accused of violating Tennessee's Butler Act, which prohibited the teaching of evolution. And although he lost his case, even though he was defended by the well-known ACLU attorney Clarence Darrow, and he was only fined a symbolic $100, and that was dismissed because of a technicality.
It was symbolic $100 in 1925.
Well, the real punishment was that for the next several decades, most biology publishers simply omitted evolution from their texts. So it had a real chilling effect on education in the United States.
The wider effects are obviously what happened to discussion of evolution in public school. But I do like people go, oh, $100, that was just a token punishment. That's $100 in 1925 dollars. That'd buy you a spaceship.
Right, and he didn't have to pay it because it was suspended on a technicality because the judge ruled it was supposed to have been done by a jury or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't even have to end up paying it, but that's hardly that's not the big thing.
Now I don't feel so bad for Scopes.
Yeah, yeah. Not that he didn't really want to be in the limelight either, but
just everyone else.
Yes. So there's two kinds of anti-evolutionism today. One is, as I mentioned before, the Bible-based creation science, also known as creationism, which is taken directly from the book of Genesis. And the second one is design-based, and that's, the purposeful arrangement of parts and the ubiquitous irreducible complexity.
Irreducible complexity.
Yes.
Many syllables in that phrase. And
yes.
We'll say one thing about the strictly Bible-based creationists, and one of the few articles of praise I'll probably offer for that is, at least they're honest. They're like, this is our book. This is where it comes from.
Yep.
The end. It's about as simple as my, it's about the same level as my definition for atheism, which is we don't believe in God, the end.
Right.
We don't think there is a God, the end. There's a few ways you can...
Or the universe doesn't give a damn what you think.
Yeah, or the universe doesn't care.
Right.
Whether or not we believe in God or think there's evidence for God.
So I want to share some talking points about intelligent design because it's important to be able to recognize it and have a good idea of what kind of arguments to counter with. Intelligent design avoids the religious association that characterized the original creationism by examining gaps in the fossil record, claiming that evolution is not fact, when in reality evolution has withstood the test of time, 150, 160 some odd years.
Right.
And it has come to be regarded as fact in the scientific community, and the fact that it's a theory as opposed to, in science, you don't talk about a theory becoming fact. A theory is where you want to get in science.
Yeah.
The theory, the wave theory of light has replaced the ether theory of light. The theory of gravity is a theory, and it's all about taking a bunch of facts or ideas that point either generally or specifically in a certain direction.
And if I may quote one of my favorite television cooks, that's another show. We actually have planned a whole episode specifically talking about a single word, which is theory, because it doesn't mean what I think it means, and according to asking questions, most people don't understand what theory means from a scientific perspective, and we really deserve some focus. So we will be talking about that. And while we're talking, if you would like to talk to us, again, if we can get the number up there, our phone number is 206-421-5658. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but you were saying?
Well, another thing about intelligent design is that it seeks to create validity for itself by saying, teach the controversy. We even heard, I remember George W. Bush more than once saying, they should teach the controversy. And that's kind of a telling statement, because that's all there is to teach, the controversy. There is no science to teach. It's not a scientific proposition. It is inherently religious. It's religion itself, and that is what Judge Jones articulated very forcefully and unequivocally in his decision.
I've heard the original legal thrust of intelligent design being described as the same creationist arguments dressed up in the clothing of information theory.
Yeah, junk science.
Junk science, yeah, essentially.
Yeah. In fact, we don't have the graphic with us, but there's when they took the text from the original creationism and they mapped out the use of the word creationism, it was used until, it was exclusively used until, was it the 1968 Supreme Court case when they ruled creationism unconstitutional in public schools. And then there was this switch, a 180-degree switch to using the term intelligent design, where the word creationism had been, and this was in the original documents that were used to publish the theory. And it was sort of like a living, the smoking gun that proved that intelligent design was nothing more than a descendant with modification of the original creationism.
Sort of an evolution of creationism.
That's exactly what it was.
Is what one of the more modern descriptive evolutions of creationism is teach the controversy, which is I think a little more honest is that there is a controversy about evolution. There's a lot of, we're having to talk about it today. There's articles about it in scientific magazines and non-scientific magazines all the time. And so there is a controversy. However, it is not a scientific controversy.
It is not.
It is not. And there is some discussion as to whether or not this controversy should be taught in schools, absent the people who are pushing creationism, in that we live in a world where we live in a country, at least, that where creationism is still trying to be pushed as an idea, and they're trying to come up with counter-arguments of evolution. And should we teach the fact that these counter-arguments that people are often putting in front of us are in fact scientifically incorrect or don't stand the tests?
That's right.
And most scientific educators believe that we shouldn't be teaching that. And I kind of disagree to a certain extent, but I don't want to off track. Maybe we can get back to that a little later.
Yeah. Well, the problem with offering to teach, whether it's creationism or intelligent design, side by side, as they say, teach the controversy, is that, first of all, other countries, Japan, Korea, China, would just love nothing more than for us to dumb down our youth by teaching them creationism or some kind of religion in place of science, because when you go to apply to a college, if you are coming from a school where they offered only intelligent design, or where that was sort of competing with a real science curriculum, that's going to erode your credibility, and it's not going to look good in the academic world. Yeah,
I think it's a little mean to say, well, the other countries would love it if we do that, because then we would all become stupid. I think they have some concerns when the country with the biggest military starts saying that science doesn't actually work.
Yeah.
And there's that. But I mean, the thing I was saying about the educational thing isn't that we teach creationism, is that we teach that there are people who believe this. Like, we don't teach civics in school anymore.
Yeah.
And part of the reason, as far as I know from educators, is that we hear from these people, oh, we have a call, and oh, wow, we have a call. We've got Gary in from Sheffield, England, I believe. Gary, are you with us?
How you going? Okay.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, great. How are you? I've emailed you before, but I'm not going to go into that. I have actually got a problem with atheism as you see it.
Okay, what's your problem?
Basically, what is not so much you guys, because you're pretty new, but I've got a problem with Matt Dillahunty and a thing that I keep saying. It keeps saying there's no evidence for God.
Mm-hmm.
Until there is, I don't believe in God. Therefore, you're leaving a back door open, wide open, for the theists to get into you.
What would that back door be?
Basically, you're saying that what I want Matt to say and you guys to say is there definitely is no God.
Okay.
But we don't.
This is a hard atheism versus soft atheism, and then ultra hard atheism or hardcore atheism. I don't know what you want to call it.
Stop.
For me,
soft atheism. There's only one atheism, and that is, remember, theism is the most destructive force mankind has ever faced. No, I'm not kidding.
A lot of people believe that. I think the jury might still be out. It's one of the things is that my atheism stems from and the reason we talk about evidence is that we are atheists, and this is what the show is about. We are atheists, we are skeptics, and we believe in the separation of church and state. And my atheism stems from my skepticism. Am I okay to come back at you
with an Americanism? You're doing a half-assed job. You need to stop.
I understand you think we're doing a half-assed job, but again, the reason we've arrived at atheism is because we try to take a naturalistic look at the universe, and we try to look at it with the scientific method. And the scientific method says, and the scientific process has brought us no evidence for God whatsoever. But we have to remain, and we've talked about this on the show, we have to remain we have to have an open mind. We have to be able to take in new evidence. Open-mindedness is not just saying we are willing to accept any evidence, anything you say whatsoever. We look at the evidence. If the evidence is testable and the evidence says that there is a God, then we're going to have to revisit things. But the fact is, all the work we've done up until this point, there is no evidence for that. And that's why it's important.
The world is doomed then, until people put the foot down and say there is no God.
Okay, I think
God, people are going to either believe in him. What we need to do is put his foot down and say there are no gods whatsoever until people start looking after it, making the world a better place for everyone. Get rid of. I know, like you're from America, but I've met people from all. I'm from England. I've met people from all religions. There's good, there's bad people from all religions. Believe you me. And what we need to do is stamp it out that there is no God. Not.
I do say there is no God. I mean, there are social times when. There are times when we're not having a long discussion about atheism where they say, what do you believe? Well, there is no God. The world is what we've come from, and our understanding of the universe comes from science, and that's the best thing we've got. But when people want to talk about the whys and hows of why I think there is no God, that's where the skepticism is. That's where the scientific method comes in. And if we're going to be honest about the way we arrived at our atheism, we have to say that the process under which we made that decision also includes a way where if the theists want to step up to the plate and use the process to show us the existence of God, then they have the opportunity to do so. We're not saying the conversation is over. We're saying that absent any other evidence, I have made my decision, and this is how I believe the universe works.